Hello everyone, this is Rich Ives again. It is July 12th. Hard to believe, but it's just a little bit more than 48 hours post surgery that I had on July 10th. If you didn't watch the first video that I posted, you will want to go back and watch that. That explains the whole story of how I got to this place. You can see clearly by the scar here on my neck. Actually, it's still the wound that's glued shut. That surgery has. I'm not that far removed from surgery. If you can tell, I am very happy. I'm very relieved. I'm thankful. I'll tell you a little bit of the story here of my surgery, and so that it gives you an idea of what I experienced, which has been nothing short of really, I would say, miraculous. I went to the surgery center on July 10th. We were the first surgery in the morning. Checked in at 6 o'clock. The surgery was scheduled for 7:30. By 10:30, I was waking up from the surgery. I actually had such a good recovery that I was able to go home later that night, the same day. Yesterday, I didn't take the pain medication. I was able to get by with only Tylenol. And then today, I have not even needed the Tylenol. The discomfort and the minor pain that I'm in here now, post-surgery, is far better than the condition and the pain and discomfort that I was in prior to that. And you remember from the first video, I had talked about the pain that was just all the time in the back of my neck and down through my shoulder blade and in my shoulder and down my arm. I was truly amazed when I woke up from surgery, and I could instantly tell that there was some relief there. It wasn't completely gone at that point, but I could tell that there was relief there. So let me walk you through the events of a little bit of what happened. I especially want to tell you a little bit of the story of how I was anxious and nervous leading up to the surgery and the operation. Not so much for myself, but concerned that they always have to prepare you for the risks involved of a surgery like this, which is rather serious. To go in and to replace a cervical disc. There are risks involved, which is the reason why you want to exhaust all alternatives before you get to that point. For me, I had dealt with this for 3 years and had gotten to really of a serious nature, and there was no other alternative. And so for me, the risks were worth it, but I didn't go into the event without a lot of serious thought and planning. Leading up to the event, a couple of days before, as always, you're going to have an interview. You're going to have a conversation with the anesthesiologist, with the surgeon. They're going to go through a little bit of an interview, tell you what to expect. Along that conversation, the question will come up, something like, do you have a living will? Well, for me, that instantly drove into the thought of my mind the seriousness of the operation. And from there, I began to be somewhat concerned. I'm a Christian. I'm a born-again believer. This is something that, in dealing with this whole situation, I've depended upon the Lord, and I've prayed many times. A friend of mine told me that, I've exhausted all opportunities, and this is the door that God had opened to try to give me some relief. And I found the verse in the Bible in Isaiah chapter 50, verse 2, that says, "Is my hand shortened that it cannot redeem? Or am I without power to deliver?" And for me, going into the surgery, I completely put my faith and trust that God was going to pull me through and that He was able to take care of me regardless of what the outcome was. I wasn't concerned as much for myself, but for my wife and my children. So I just share that with you, because if you're anticipating something like this, it's not you're not alone. There are certainly concerns that one would have going into this. But we got to the surgery center that morning. I was taken into the prepping room. I was given Tylenol as well as oxycodone helped to relieve the pain throughout the surgery. I was given general anesthesia through an IV. For me, I've never I've never partaken in any drugs or smoking or alcohol in the past, so it didn't take much to put me under. General anesthesia happened. I remember him saying in the surgery room, try to think of a better place you'd rather be. And I remember looking a little bit to the right and thinking, I wonder what I would choose, and that was it. That's all I remember. I was out. Next thing I knew, I was, the nurses and the surgeon was there, waking me up from the surgery, having me, move my extremities, making sure everything was working okay. And I remember instantly thinking at the time, my mind instantly went to, is the pain gone? Because one of my biggest concerns with this was that I would take on this risk, that I'd have the operation, and it wouldn't relieve me of the pain. And so my mind instantly went to that. I didn't feel too much down the left side, but there was a different pain, down my right side just a little bit. And I thought, oh no, I've traded kind of one for the other. But the surgeon actually was right there. Dr. Jesse Eisler is who has just been really a godsend to me, and he just did some terrific work. And he looked at me and he said, I remember him saying, you did great through the surgery. The surgery was textbook perfect. Now, if you've been around surgeons and doctors, you know that after an operation, they will tend to hedge a little bit and tell you a little bit of the pros and some of the things that might be concerning. But boy, to hear that from him, I thought, wow, it must have really gone well for him to say that. It went extremely well. He said that once he was in there, you remember I was supposed to have a 2-level disc replacement. He only ended up doing 1. Once he was in there, he found that C6 to 7 wasn't really too bad, and he found that maybe all the trauma from C5 to 6 was causing some of that pain down into C6 to C7. So he didn't have to touch that. But he said my C5 to C6 disc was very bad. He said it was very severe, more than he had thought. My disc was completely collapsed and was pushed to the out the back of my spine, and there were fragments on the front that he needed to clean up. And once he was able to clean that whole disc up and completely remove it, he had then replaced that whole disc with the Mobi-C artificial disc. Was able to then close me up. He said everything looked really good, and my spine actually looked very good other than that. And so he was very pleased. He said, I think you're going to be very, very pleased with the result. And boy, for sure that I am. Throughout the recovery in the surgery room, it wasn't long before they had me up and moving. My biggest complication was actually, I think, had everything to do with all the drugs that I was on and going through the surgery. I was I had nausea, but nothing more than just an upset stomach there for a while. I had obviously the discomfort from my neck, which just felt like a really bad sore throat. A little hard to swallow. The ginger ale was my best friend coming out of surgery. That felt really good. When they got me up and I walked, I was very lightheaded and dizzy. The nurse was rather concerned. I'm 6'2", about 220, so she got some help real quick in fear that I might fall. I remember my wife was behind me with the wheelchair in case I needed it. But again, we were out of there by about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and back home. It just seemed like things passed so quickly. I can tell you that, today as I sit here 48 hours from surgery, the pain is just gone. Things feel new to me. In dealing with this for the past 3 years, I had to try to figure out all kinds of things to do to kind of just endure through, sitting in a certain position. Food tastes different. Being able to walk around and enjoy a conversation with my children feels different. It just feels like I've just been set free from this, and I, just can't be more thankful and more grateful. And to and I think that, you know, this is so soon after surgery that it's probably only going to get better from here. So, boy, what can I tell you? Some of the things that I was concerned about, none of which happened. You know, it went really well. I would say that, you know, had I to do it over again, I really did push this off for some time. You know, like I said, you want to be able to think through it, make sure that this is really a, you know, the last, you know, the last stop on the journey, because there are some risks involved. You know, obviously I'm going to deal with this scar. It'll prove that, you know, I guess that I'm tough, but, you know, I think I probably had it to do all over again. I would have done this a lot sooner. You know, I think, you know, for sure this is something that was needed for me. Maybe it's not needed for everyone. My situation obviously was severe enough that this was the only fix for me. So I really didn't have any choice. But, you know, no, and the hardest thing about this has been not knowing. Obviously, you know, it wasn't like heart surgery where unless I had it, I was going to die. And that was the hardest thing for me, was to be able to take on the risk knowing that, you know, the choice that I'm making, you know, good or bad, was going to end up being something that I would live with. But boy, I'll tell you, I'm just feeling so grateful and so thankful. You know, like I said, it is July 12th. I will post another video here a little while out. I'm due to go back to the surgeon to be checked over and giving, you know, an okay to drive and an okay to kind of continue on next Tuesday, which will be exactly 1 week from the surgery. I anticipate that, you know, he's going to be pretty pleased with, you know, my progress here to date. And I look forward to just a great, strong recovery and kind of getting back to normal here. And now I will post something a little further out. Again, I just hope this is a, you know, a help to you. If it can be of any help to you, if I can, you know, reach out to me through a comment. If there's something that I can offer you that was helpful in my going through this situation, I'd be glad to. Certainly there were several people and individuals who were very helpful to me in going through this journey, which I'm very thankful for. So that's it. That's the update. I hope it's helpful.